In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to connect Tableau to our survey relationship data model, which is currently stored in Excel. So what we're going to do first of all is we've got a Tableau workbook open and we're going to connect to that Excel document. So that's as easy as normally is. So let's connect to the data and we're going to then connect to the Microsoft Excel. And then we're going to connect to the relationship survey data source, which is available on the website and available in the comments of this video too. So let's select on that. When we open it, we're presented with three sheets within that Excel workbook. One's called Fact Responses, one's called Dim Respondents, and one is called Dim Codebook. As with all good Tableau data sources, we're going to start off with the fact table as the basis of our data source. So the fact table for us, there's one row per respondent and per variable, and then it's giving us all the different answer options that person gave. So for the gender question, it's a value option. But sometimes it could be an open-end text response, which is the value string, or it could be a numeric response where we'd have value float. But for the moment and for this video, we'll just focus on these value IDs. What we then need to do is find out what each one of these kind of value IDs actually means. So we're going to bring in the dim codebook. Dim stands for dimension, so it's the codebook dimension. And we can see here that Tableau's got a little bit confused trying to define that relationship. Sometimes it does it automatically for us, but in this case it struggled. So what we need to do is select the field for the responses, and we're going to join on the variable ID. So let's find those in both of those. And then we're also going to match on the value ID as well. And there we are. The reason we're joining on both the variable ID and the value ID is because here we've got the unique variable IDs here. And you can see that for gender, for example, and for generation, we've got duplicates in there. And that's because we have one row per value ID as well. So here for gender, we've got male and female responses. For generation, we've got 4 different generation groups. And for location, there's 5 different locations. When it comes down to weight, for example, there is no lookup. And so we use a value of -1 to join that data. So that's how we've joined the fact responses and dim codebook. The next one to add in then is also the dim respondents table. So let's drag that in. So we can see here that Tableau's kind of gone, there's a respondent ID in each one of these tables. So let's join on that, which is the correct thing to do, which is great. Whilst we're here, what we can do is actually just review those performance options. Because there's one respondent in the dim respondents per the many fact responses, we can change this option here to 1. And then we can also say that because of the way that we've created that dim respondents table, every respondent is going to be in that fact table. So therefore we can also change the referential integrity on these to all records match. It's not essential that you do this, but it kind of just cleans up your data set quite a bit. And then also whilst we're here, we should actually just review that performance options on the other join. So we've got a many to many here. But actually, again, we can just change this to many to 1, which just makes it a lot better. And we're going to keep the referential integrity kind of flexible, let's say, on some records match for both of these. Fab. So there we are. That is our survey relationship data source all set up. And it's typically always like this. You may get a little bit more complex with a more complicated survey structure. But for now, this is it. So what we're going to do is then just save that as an extract. And let's go and have a look at where that looks. So I'm just going to pop it in here. And so here we are now in our typical Tableau workbook environment. So we've got our different tables on the side here and our workspace in the middle. So what we're going to do just first of all is just see what questions we've actually got in the data. So let's first of all drag in the variable ID. And then also let's add in the question text. And then whilst we're here, let's also put in the option label. So as you can see for each one of these, we then have so the variable ID of gender, we've got the question text of what is your gender, and then we've got the 2 answer options of male or female. similarly for generation, we've got those other options here. What we can then do, if we look at the dim respondents table, is that we want to have a count of how many people are in each one of these groups. And so if we just bring across the unweighted field, it's then giving us the actual count for each one of these. So without having to do any kind of complicated formulas or anything like that, it's just automatically gone, there's 408 females and then there's 437 males in this data set. Then what we can do is just change that to a table calculation, percent of total, and now we have the percentages for each one of these. So let's just add that on the mark label as well. And so we now have the percentage labels for each one of those. But this is now the unweighted data. But as you saw in our respondents table, we've also got weighted data in here as well. And to use the weighted data instead of the unweighted data, we can just bring it in like we have done before. And then let's just change that again to a percentage of total. And here we've now got weighted data versus unweighted data in our data set. One of the key advantages of the relationship data set model is that even if no one responds to a particular question item, because of the way that we've set up that data source, and specifically if I go right back to the detail here we've got the item here and some records match on the referential integrity. So we've got some items in our codebook which are not in the fact responses table. So if we go back to here, we've got a question here of what is your perfect Saturday? So one option is a relaxing spa day, but the other option is being set upon by angry bees. So no one wants to be set upon by angry bees, which is why we've got a 100% response rate in our relaxing spa day. So one of the real benefits of the relationship model is that we still see these other options even if no one responded to them. So that's all I'm going to cover in this short video. Feel free to take advantage of the data set we have here and look out for future blogs on the subject. Thanks very much for your time. Bye bye.